So, another moment or two at Don Stacy's YouTube channel. Welcome all. You might be a secularist like me, or you might be some sort of believer in some religion like many others, most others perhaps. I'm a skeptic and I'm a cynic, and I also regard myself as a rationalist. And a moment ago I heard the phrase, the digital age. We're living in the digital age now. And when I was a young boy, 6, 7, 8 years old, I didn't know it, but at the time I was living in the atomic age. And then, although it seemed to me a rather long time, until about 1970 or so, between 1970 and 1985, roughly during the inception of the personal computer, then we began to live in the computer age. And now we live in the digital age. I would say that the proper phrasing would be, we live in the age of the internet. This is the age of the internet age, where instantaneous communication is commonplace. And vast groups of people can communicate between one another instantaneously. That also has become commonplace. And thus, information, if you look at it as some sort of fluid, flow of information, in other words, that flow of information, some of which is truthful or accurate as to what the actuality of events that have transpired, and much of it which is utterly inaccurate and deceptive and basically just sheer propaganda. That is also on the internet in vast quantities. Vast quantities. And the problem is that nowadays people read newspapers far less frequently than they used to. And regional newspapers have gone out of business, gone bankrupt, or been absorbed by larger entities, business entities, such as Rupert Murdoch's vast empire. Rupert Murdoch, who originated from Australia and acquired the Fox News broadcast network, you could call it, at some point. Don't ask me when. But he was at the helm of that business for many years. Whether he is or not still, I don't know. Perhaps so, probably. But Mr. Murdoch, as most people realize by now, was, or still is, exceedingly conservative in his views. And what he would prefer is a world which is welcoming to the vast corporation of the sort that he is at the head at. So he wants a corporate world, in a world which is devoted to capitalism. But the world is not entirely devoted to capitalism, as we all know. There are still countries like, well, Russia, for example, and certainly the People's Republic of China, mainland China. They've already reabsorbed Hong Kong for all intents and purposes, and they may quite likely do the same thing with Taiwan, which will be extremely interesting because Taiwan is, for all intents and purposes, although it's not written down in stone, an ally of the United States. So we have this country, and granted, it's an autonomous country, but historically speaking, it was part of China. And from the viewpoint of the People's Communist Party of China, it will always remain so. And Xi Jinping, apparently, is very determined to reabsorb Taiwan into Zhongguo, China, mainland China. Just as he and the country have already done with Hong Kong. I'm married to a woman from China. I've been there. I've been there for 3.5 years altogether. And I believe I have a fairly good intuitive grasp of daily life there. And daily life in China is extremely lively, for one thing. And you see people everywhere you go. Well, you know, if you go into any American town and you walk around, especially in the wintertime, there aren't any people around because they're either in their cars, or they're in their homes, or they're somewhere at work. The only people you ever see outdoors are school kids walking to school, or maybe old people like myself out on a stroll. One of my neighbors, she lives on the same block as I do. She's married to some fellow of Ukrainian descent who teaches philosophy at Gonzaga University here in Spokane. She walks probably every day. They're both Roman Catholic, and even though she's had back surgery, she goes out and walk every single day. And when I first moved into my home here 5 years ago, I noticed her immediately, almost. How could I not? Just looking out the window, I see this woman walking along, and I have to say she's rather Rubenesque in stature, and she's wearing a gray trench coat and raincoat, and like a fisherman's cap, and she's got hair halfway down her back. She's about, I don't know, maybe 60 years old at most. She's nice looking. She's very nice looking. She's a very attractive woman. And every now and then I see her outside and we have a little chat. But